Let me ask you something real. Have you ever looked at your bank account, your bills, or even your life and whispered, God, how am I supposed to make it through this? Maybe you've prayed but still worried, declared but still doubted, smiled in public but cried in private. Listen to 700 years ago, Isaiah spoke a prophecy, not just for ancient times, but for your struggle today. He wrote about the broken, the poor, the forgotten, the ones who feel like life has passed them by. And here's the truth that might shake you. God already saw your pain before it started, and he wrote your comeback before you even knew you'd fall. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you'll know this struggle isn't the end, it's the setup for your story. When Isaiah says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me," he isn't just making a dramatic entrance. He's declaring authority, divine authority. That line tells us that God isn't distant, uninvolved, or waiting until you get your life together. He shows up right in the middle of the mess. Financial struggle is more than missing money. It wears you out emotionally. It attacks your identity. When you can't provide, it makes you question your worth. When bills pile up, it feels like your dignity shrinks. But Isaiah begins this powerful passage by making it clear. God steps into that pain. He enters the hardship. The Spirit of God shows up when you feel invisible, when the eviction notice is on the door, when you've applied to 100 jobs with no callbacks, when you're borrowing gas money. He's not embarrassed by your situation. He's empowered in it. His Spirit rests right there on the bruised, the broken, the overlooked. This part of the prophecy is about presence, divine presence. It's a reminder that you're never fighting alone. You may not have a support system on earth, but heaven already has a battle plan. That burden you carry, it's been seen. That pressure on your chest, God has felt it. Take Marcus, for example, a lay-off factory worker with 3 kids, a mortgage, and no college degree. For months, he sat in silence during job interviews, watching rejection after rejection come through. He said the moment that shifted everything was one evening at home, sitting alone in the dark with the lights cut off, when he whispered, God, I'm not even asking for money anymore. I just need you to show me I'm not by myself. The next day, he got a call from a buddy who needed help moving furniture. That gig led to referrals, and referrals led to a moving business, a business that today employs 3 other men who were also unemployed. It started when Marcus remembered that God was already present. That's the power of the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. It's a holy announcement that your current situation hasn't disqualified you from God's plan. It's actually the reason the plan exists. Your situation ain't permanent. It's a setup for good news. The phrase, anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, tells us 2 things. First, God specifically chose someone to speak hope to people in financial pain. Second, the word poor here isn't just about money. It's about people stripped of options, opportunities, or support. If that's you, this part of Isaiah's message is deeply personal. The good news is not that you'll win the lottery or stumble into a miracle windfall. The good news is this: your condition is not your conclusion. Being poor doesn't mean being powerless. It means you're at the exact place where God wants to start writing a new chapter. When you've got nothing left but faith and breath, that's when transformation begins. Latasha, a young mother in Cleveland, spent 5 years on government assistance. She was ashamed. Every trip to the store with food stamps felt like judgment. But one day she heard this verse, Isaiah 61:1, and it struck something inside her. If God sent someone to bring her good news, then maybe her life was worth more than what she saw in her bank account. She began attending free community classes on business basics. It wasn't easy. 2 kids, no car, no babysitter, but she showed up. 3 years later, she opened a home-based baking business. Today, her cakes are in local grocery stores. The poverty she lived in didn't end in an instant, but her perspective shifted instantly the moment she believed she was still valuable, still worthy of good news. That's the fire behind Isaiah's words. He wasn't giving people a religious slogan. He was declaring a spiritual revolution. Your finances may be in ruins, but your future isn't. Poverty may be your reality, but it's not your identity. Good news for the poor means your life has purpose. Right now, not after you've climbed out, not once you've made 6 figures, but while you're still struggling. And if he anointed someone to deliver that message, then he's serious about it. He's intentional. He sees you. Financial struggles hurt deep. God heals deeper. Isaiah's words here are raw and direct. He doesn't say God ignores the broken-hearted. He doesn't say God avoids them. He says he binds them up. That's language from the battlefield. It's what a medic does when someone's been wounded. It's tender. It's intentional. It's hands-on healing. Being financially broken often carries emotional wounds that go unseen. It's the sting of hearing your child ask for something you can't afford. The hollow feeling of watching others move ahead while you stay stuck. It's not just about numbers. It's about identity, self, worth, hope. When your money is broken, your heart often follows. Isaiah isn't offering vague comfort. He's pointing to restoration. The Hebrew word used for bind means to wrap tightly, to restore strength, to stabilize. This isn't passive comfort. It's active healing. Consider Denise, a 52-year-old woman who lost her job during a corporate layoff. 25 years of loyalty gone overnight. She fell into depression, convinced she was now worthless in a world chasing youth and tech skills. She stopped answering phone calls. Her savings dwindled. But one morning a friend sent her this verse. That phrase, bind up the broken-hearted, stuck with her. It felt like a lifeline. She began journaling every morning, writing down not her fears, but her memories of when she had made it through before. She found healing in remembering. 2 months later, she began mentoring younger women online, teaching them how to manage life transitions. Her heart, which felt discarded, became a source of healing for others. God doesn't just patch you up and move on. He binds your wounds with purpose. Your brokenness doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you for his most personal work. Debt is a prison, but you're getting paroled. This part of Isaiah's prophecy speaks directly to anyone who feels trapped, not just by prison bars, but by circumstances, by debt, bad credit, limited options, or financial shame. When you're stuck in a cycle of borrowing just to survive, it begins to feel like freedom is a distant dream. Isaiah uses the word proclaim, which means to announce publicly and boldly. Freedom isn't whispered. It's shouted, because when a person has been stuck for too long, they need to hear, loud and clear, that it's time to walk out. Think of Terence, a young man who got caught in payday loan cycles. One loan led to another, and before he knew it, most of his paycheck disappeared before it even hit his account. He felt enslaved to interest rates. The day he read this verse, he said it felt like God was calling him out of a cage. He got help from a local financial ministry that specialized in low-income debt recovery. Over 18 months, he paid it all off and started teaching financial literacy in youth programs. Freedom starts when you believe you're not destined to stay where you are. The prison is real, but so is the key. Isaiah speaks to the deep internal reality of people who feel like they can't move forward. Debt may have your wallet, but it doesn't have your soul. God's proclamation of freedom means new paths, new mindsets, new strategies, and above all, the power to change your story. God ain't ignoring your tears. He's bottling them. Mourning isn't reserved for funerals. You can mourn the loss of a dream, the collapse of a business, the wasted years working a job that drained your soul. You can mourn the money you thought you'd have by now, the house you lost, or the career that passed you by. Isaiah's prophecy speaks directly to those hidden losses, the kind nobody brings flowers for. God sees that kind of mourning. He responds to it. Isaiah says he comes to comfort, and not just some, all who mourn. That word comfort in Hebrew means more than a hug or a pat on the back. It means to breathe with, to be present in the grief, to lift the weight, not just observe it. Tears that fall in the dark are not wasted. They're seen. Psalm 56:8 says God collects every tear in a bottle, which means each one has value, each one is remembered. The comfort Isaiah talks about isn't a vague promise. It's a real presence that enters into your pain and stays there until peace replaces it. Consider Elaine, who lost everything during a divorce. Her house, her savings, her stability. She worked 2 jobs just to survive, constantly mourning the life she thought she'd built. Every night after her kids went to sleep, she cried alone. When she stumbled upon Isaiah 61, this specific verse struck her. She said it was the first time she believed God wasn't disappointed in her. He was with her. Her healing began not when her situation changed, but when she believed her tears had meaning. That awareness gave her strength. Over time, she started rebuilding, not quickly but intentionally. Her pain didn't vanish, but it was no longer the loudest voice in her life. Mourning doesn't mean weakness. It means you care deeply, and God doesn't waste what you cared about. He comes to comfort you, not just by removing pain, but by walking with you through it. Your past can't define you. Only God can. Ashes are the remains of something that once had potential. A business plan that failed, a career that ended, a savings account drained to nothing. Ashes speak of dreams that burned down, but Isaiah says God will exchange those ashes for beauty. Not hide them, not erase them, but transform them. This promise is radical. It means your worst moments, your deepest failures, are the raw material for something new. God doesn't wait for you to clean up the mess before he works. He steps into the middle of it and begins creating beauty out of brokenness. Beauty for ashes is not just recovery, it's redemption. It means what looked like the end is only the beginning. It means the very thing that shamed you will become the story that strengthens someone else. Jeremiah, a former addict who spent years in financial ruin, had nothing left but ashes, literally living in a shelter, cut off from family, buried in debt. One day, someone handed him a Bible and pointed him to Isaiah 61. That phrase, "a beauty instead of ashes," became his anchor. He got clean, entered a work program, and years later started a non-profit helping others recover from financial and spiritual rock bottom. The ashes didn't disappear. They were used. That's the promise. Not that your pain gets erased, but that it gets repurposed into something beautiful. You deserve to feel joy again, even if life's been hard. Mourning drains your soul. It makes laughter feel like a luxury. For people struggling financially, joy often feels inappropriate, like something you're not allowed to have until all your problems are fixed. Isaiah's prophecy shatters that lie. God doesn't wait for mourning to leave before joy can begin. He brings oil of joy, something rich, healing, and nourishing. In ancient Israel, oil represented healing and anointing. It was used to refresh, to restore. So when Isaiah says God gives the oil of joy, he's saying God will pour something deep into your spirit that revives you from the inside out. Joy is different from happiness. Happiness can depend on a paycheck, a stable job, a working car. Joy doesn't need those things to exist. Joy is when your soul smiles even while your hands are still empty. It's peace that doesn't make sense but shows up anyway. Cynthia, a single grandmother raising 3 kids on Social Security, found herself battling both depression and isolation. Her light bill was overdue. Her rent was behind. Her pride was shattered. One afternoon, she listened to a sermon on Isaiah 61. That phrase, the oil of joy instead of mourning, got stuck in her mind. She decided to write down 3 things each day she could still be thankful for. Some days, all she could write was, "I woke up, and I still believe God sees me." But even that small act opened a door. Over time, her spirit changed. That shift in her heart didn't bring immediate money, but it gave her enough strength to fight again. God's joy doesn't dismiss your pain, it overrules it. It doesn't tell you to fake a smile. It teaches your soul to sing even in the silence. That joy is not earned, it's given, like oil poured freely. Praise can break chains your money never could. Despair is heavy. It wraps around your mind and whispers lies, that you're stuck, forgotten, too late, not enough. When bills are due and you're working 2 jobs just to stay behind, it's easy for despair to set up camp in your spirit. But Isaiah talks about replacing that heaviness with a garment of praise, not just a moment of praise, a garment. Something you put on, something you choose daily. Garments are what people see on you. They're also what protects you. Praise is powerful, not because it changes your circumstances overnight, but because it shifts your posture. When you begin to thank God for what you still have, even while standing in lack, you're making a spiritual declaration. I will not be owned by despair. Malik, once a construction worker injured on the job, spent 2 years fighting through physical pain, no income, and depression. He began each morning saying out loud, "God, I thank you that I'm still here." That's all he had. That small act of praise didn't pay his bills, but it changed the atmosphere in his home. It gave him clarity, energy, and a mindset that refused to quit. Years later, he runs a disability advocacy nonprofit. Praise didn't erase the struggle, but it dressed him differently to face it. And when you change your garment, you change your stance.